Hey, Cleveland. This is the Oracle Speaks. I am the Village Elliot. Have you got Driskelmania? Are you ready for Driskelmania? I think it's time. The Browns have a new quarterback. We always love the new quarterback, don't we? Well, and in fact, the new quarterback is a guy named Jeff Driskel. You may remember him from the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me turn down the music here a little bit. And once again, thank you. Thank you very much to Free Sound Music for providing the music for our show. They do it on a free basis, supported by voluntary commissions or contributions, I should say. And I'm happy to support them, and I do. All right. So here we are. Let me also tweak the sound a little bit. Give me just a second. Audio, echo cancellation, reduce the background noise, and we're there. And I'm going to, for those who have video, I'm going to provide a PowerPoint file, as is my recent trend. And give me just a second. I want to share a screen and a window. And here's my PowerPoint file and slideshow from the very beginning. And yeah, this is just from a few hours ago, hot off the presses. The Cleveland Browns have signed quarterback Jeff Driskel to the active roster. And this is actually not a current picture, but the team that he was on last season, the Houston Texans. We've had such great success signing quarterbacks from the Houston Texans. We thought we'd go for another one. Now, Jeff was not a teammate of Deshaun Watson's. He became a Houston Texans after Deshaun Watson left the Texans. Remember, he went kind of on strike in, it was 2021. And so that's when Jeff went to the Texans. And then 2022, Watson came to the Cleveland Browns, and Driskel played part of 2022 with the Texans as well. So there he is. He's a backup quarterback, and he's now on the Cleveland Browns. We've needed that for a long time. Now, unfortunately, Driskel has not had much time with the Cleveland Browns playbook, but we're going to do what we can with what we have. Now, let me drop this on you. Would you believe that the Oracle called this? What's true? Back in October 29th, right before the trade deadline, I talked about 5 realistic candidates for the Browns' backup quarterback job. And I called out Jeff Driskel, who at the time was available as really a free agent. He was not at that time on the practice squad of the Arizona Cardinals. In fact, he joined the Cardinals because the Cardinals traded away former Brown Joshua Dobbs. And really, my first choice was Garrett Gilbert, who was a former Cleveland Browns, on the grounds that Gilbert had familiarity with the Stefanski playbook, at least to a certain extent, since he had played for Kevin Stefanski in the first part of the 2020 season. But Driskel actually has better tools, so I'm not really upset that they picked Driskel over Garrett Gilbert. I am upset that they waited so long before they realized that they had a problem with unhealthy quarterbacks. I think they should have gotten a number 4 quarterback and stashed him on the practice squad much, much earlier. It should have been as soon as they realized, pardon me, that Deshaun Watson, the number 1, had a shoulder injury. That's when they should have signed Driskel, but they didn't. So anyway, they waited until he got all trained up with the Arizona Cardinals, and now they've selected him, promoted him to the active roster in Cleveland, after he'd been on the practice squad for the Cardinals. And you're allowed to do that in the NFL. You can promote somebody to the active roster. It's a 3-week at least commitment when you promote them. Presumably, that means that he was not even protected by the Cardinals, and that's why he was available. I think he's a pretty good quarterback, and I'm going to talk about that. Now, who is this guy? Well, he was a former Cincinnati Bengal, also played in Detroit, Denver, and Houston. Let me point out that at the time that he played, none of those teams were any good. They were all, like 4-win teams, something like that. He also played in college and split time at the quarterback position in Florida. He was never the full-time starter in Florida. He had an injury. I think he broke his leg while he was in Florida, and he never had a full season there. He was granted a 5th year of eligibility and transferred to Louisiana Tech. And playing for Skip Holtz, he threw for 4,000 yards when he finally got a full-time job. And so that was pretty impressive. The dude is 6'4", 235 pounds. So he's a big dude. We like that, right? He's a pocket passer, much like our current guy, Joe Flacco, but he's also fast. He ran 4.56 at the combine, which is tremendously fast for a guy as big as he is. So he's really an athletic freak. He's got a really strong arm, and he's got all the tools. He did not have a great deal of experience coming out of college, but he's bounced around in the NFL for, 7, 8 years, something like that. He's, I think, 30 years old now. His failure is that he failed to win a Super Bowl for the Cincinnati Bengals. He didn't win one for the Detroit Lions, didn't win one for the Denver Broncos or the Houston Texans. Now he's 30 years old. So most teams hate guys like that. But the thing is, when you're 30 years old and you're a quarterback and you haven't really been injured as a pro, you have really low mileage, and you're just now learning how to play quarterback in the NFL. There's no reason to give up on a guy who's been learning how to play the position. Now you know how to play quarterback in the NFL. These guys get better with time. They do not get worse. A lot of fan bases, even coaches and general managers, think that quarterbacks hit their peak in their rookie season. They can play them right away and they're going to be stars. And that's ridiculous. The fact of the matter is it takes 5, 6, 7 years to learn how to be a good quarterback in the NFL. So, the general managers and coaches want these guys to be instant superstars. That doesn't happen. What really happens is that in order to become a good quarterback, not a Hall of Famer, but just a good quarterback that can lead a team, score more touchdowns than the opposition, it takes a few years. These kind of guys develop over a period of time. So I want to see a guy like this make Cleveland his home for about a year, come back, in other words, next season for summer training camp. Let's see what happens. This guy should have been signed when Deshaun Watson was starting to have shoulder issues, should have had his name in the playbook, should have had his nose, I should say, in the playbook all this time and been learning things. I don't know how effective he can be, whether he can be another Flacco if called upon. I think he'll be all right, but let's not expect miracles from the guy if he's called upon. I'd probably rather go with P.J. Walker if we need to have a quarterback, but I really think that Jeff Driskel is a more skilled quarterback if he had had the same amount of time with the playbook. I really think that. All right, so let's go talk about his college career. at Florida. Here's his stats, and if you look at the meat and potatoes, his freshman year he just had a little cup of coffee, 148 total passing yards. Had a decent year, threw for 1,600 yards as a sophomore. Junior year he got hurt. Senior year he didn't play very much. Transfers to Louisiana Tech, and he became a superstar with 4,000 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and his quarterback rating, quarterback rating was 154.1. That's really pretty amazing. He really performed well. That was at Conference USA rather than the SEC, so you can knock him for that if you want, but he did everything that he really could in his circumstances. He beat everybody that he played, and really grew a lot, I would say, and did very well. All right, let's pause a little bit. Last time I told you about the Build the Bridge program that the Cleveland Browns have, and I'll remind you again that the Browns have a lot of charities that they support. You can support them too by going on the Browns website and finding the Be the Solution page. In this case, they work with local high schools and try to pair up high schools with different socioeconomic backgrounds, different racial backgrounds, and try to get some meaningful dialogues between different cultures. So maybe some teams, some athletes from schools in the inner city and other high schools that are in the more affluent burbs, and they get these players to kind of work together on joint projects and get to know one another and build some meaningful bonds and relationships. I think it's a really good idea. So this season, the Browns, bless their little hearts, provided free Super Bowl tickets and travel accommodations to the Super Bowl for Build the Bridge founders Max Stevens, Damian Creel, and Kahari Hicks. So congratulations to those three. The coaches were selected as the inaugural recipients of the Browns Inspire Change Jim Brown Change Makers Awards. So at this point, I will pause for a few seconds of my time, and actually it'll be a few minutes on many of our platforms for a commercial break for our sponsors. We're very grateful to you for sponsoring our shows, and thank you, fans, for listening in your different platforms. We know that you have a choice of shows that you can listen to, and thank you for choosing ours. I'm pausing now. And we're back. Let's continue with Jeff Driscoll's record in the pros. He came up with Cincinnati as a backup quarterback, and remember, you want to have one chance to make it as a rookie in Cincinnati, or else you're no good. He didn't lead the team to a Super Bowl when he got to come in for, I guess it was probably Andy Dalton at that time. He did have 5 starts for the Bengals and threw for 1,000 yards, 60% completion average. That's not bad. 6 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions, and his rating was 82. That's pretty good for a rookie quarterback or first year. I think maybe he was drafted in 2017 or so, I think. Didn't play the first year, and then after he got trained up, he became the backup and went in when Dalton, I think it was Dalton, got injured. And he played acceptably well. Performed as the starter, did pretty good. Whatever reason, they decided they didn't like him, and he was gone, went to Detroit. Similar situation. He had a some fair numbers that he put up as a backup quarterback: 4 touchdowns, 4 INTs, 59% completion, average rating of 75.3. That's not great, but it's not horrible. And then went on to Denver. Not so great. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But, Denver was a horrible team that year, I believe, 2020. I don't think they won very many games. Houston didn't perform very much. 2022 was a down year for them again. And yet, he had a few passes that he completed, 100 yards, big deal. But he did okay. His numbers are reasonably successful for what he was doing, basically running the offense, handing the ball off, trying to get the running game going and managing the game. That's what you want for a backup quarterback. He played only on bad teams. If he had a good team around him, I think he has a pretty good chance of being a successful quarterback. That's just my opinion. I always liked him. I liked him when he came up with the Cincinnati Bengals. I saw that there was a lot of raw potential there. But, he needed to have playing time and game reps in order to make progress. And the Bengals had no patience for young quarterbacks at that time. Just the way that they were, like the Cleveland Browns. So what exactly do you want Driskel to do? He's going to be our backup quarterback. May never take a snap for the Browns. We hope that he doesn't. We hope that it's Flacco all the way. But we want him to learn the basics of the Stefanski-Van Pelt offense. We don't want him to be, masters of the entire playbook. Just learn the basics. Be able to run that offense. Be the leader of the offense. That's really the job. A lot of people make, they use the word game manager like it's an insult, but that's exactly what the quarterback is supposed to do. Manage the game, manage the offense, lead the offense, be the leader. We want to see smart football. We don't want to see dumb plays. We don't want to see overly aggressive football. We don't want to see unnecessary chances, especially when we have a defense that can win the game for us. So let's play smart, not turn the ball over for unnecessary risks. This is going to be a ball control offense with the backup quarterback in. We don't want to see you take wild chances to try to be the hero. Let's just control the ball, minimize turnovers, execute a simplified version of the offense. We don't want to open up the entire playbook, I think, especially because it'll probably be just a bare bones version of the playbook that Driskel would be able to absorb. Depending on what happens this Sunday, the last game that the Browns play, if the playoffs are not in doubt, if there's no chance to win the division and the Browns are locked in for the wild card game, they may decide that they want to play Driskel. They may actually play him on the grounds that it doesn't matter whether they win or lose. And so they may want to rest their quarterbacks that they will actually use in the playoffs and let Driskel get some playing time. So we'd like to have a simplified offense, maybe learn the 2-minute drill, which is pretty standard through all the teams in the NFL run basically the same plays. And one rule, whatever the New York Jets do, don't do that. Whatever they're doing, don't do that. You do something else. It's pretty simple. All right. That's really what I wanted to say. Welcome, Jeff Driskel, to the Cleveland Browns. I think Jeff Driskel has some potential. Of all the guys that they could have signed, Jeff Driskel was actually pretty high on my list. It was not a name from out of nowhere for me. That was a guy that I have identified over the years as kind of a stealth quarterback that I thought was a real possibility that he could emerge as a legitimate backup quarterback, a guy that could lead a team and win some games. So I'm actually pretty happy with that choice. I think Jeff Driskel is a good choice to be a backup quarterback for the Browns. And I hope he doesn't play. But if he does, I think the team can have confidence in him as long as they don't go too crazy. I think he's got a shot at this. So, yeah, I'm going to switch glasses here from, I need different glasses depending on how far away things are. But okay, the Browns get this Sunday off. We're going to watch and see what Pittsburgh does against Baltimore. Somehow we've got to get ourselves psyched up to root for Pittsburgh to beat Baltimore so that the Browns still have a chance to win the division title. That would be just totally awesome. And we'll comment on what that means when and if it happens. So have a great weekend, everybody. It'll be a fun weekend to watch everybody else play football while the Browns know that they are going to be in the playoffs. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you again.